Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Hawks Latest, your number one source for news, updates, rumors, opinions, and you guessed it, the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. I'm your host, Zach Langley, aka Langley ATL, and today we are going to be diving into one of the biggest trade rumors that's shaking up the league right now, and the main topic of conversation at this current moment. Could Jaren Jackson Jr. be on the move, the Defensive Player of the Year, all defensive caliber player? And if so, should the Hawks try to go after him? We're also going to talk about reports connecting Atlanta to a potential move up in the draft with one specific team. And some intriguing players that are quietly being shopped by the Raptors and Cavs, and something that the Hawks may inquire on as they enter an offseason where they're going to be aggressive in their moves to potentially improve this roster and contend in the Eastern Conference. And then we're going to wrap things up by taking a closer look at rising draft prospect Jean Beringer, a big man that could potentially be in play at pick 22 and has been generating a lot of steam as of late. So without further ado, let's get into it and start in Memphis, Tennessee, where things just got a lot more interesting. So, if you're unaware, just yesterday morning, the Grizzlies traded away Desmond Bane to the Orlando Magic for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Cole Anthony, 4 unprotected first-round picks, and a pick swap. That's a hefty return, and it raises a major question. Is Memphis entering a rebuild? I mean, this move it doesn't necessarily signal it now, but they could potentially think about it. I mean, they got 4 first-round picks and 2 players that, Cole Anthony's a young guard, but Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is just a bad contract at this point in his career. So it really does raise the question. And first of all, I mean, I just want it to be said that this is a good pickup for Orlando. I mean, while it might be an overpay, Desmond Bane does fit seamlessly into the lineup, and it's something that I don't think they're going to regret, as they had enough draft capital to part ways with as part of an all-in move. So, I mean, if the Memphis is entering a rebuild, the spotlight immediately turns to the 2 big names on their team, Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. Jackson is still just 25 years old and has quietly become one of the best two-way bigs in the NBA. I mean, he's averaged over 22 points per game over the last 2 seasons, and he is a legitimate shot-blocking force with decent size, and he's knocking down threes at a solid volume at over 5 attempts per game, shooting 37%. So, I mean, all the intangibles are there. He's exactly the kind of front court presence Atlanta could use and, needs, really. He's mobile, rangy, and disruptive on defense with an offensive skill set that stretches the floor. I mean, he's a great scorer. I mean, his one big weakness, though, and which might present a problem, is rebounding. Jackson is not a strong rebounder at all for a center, which has always been a knock on his game and why a lot of people, recommend that he should be playing the power forward. But in Atlanta, that wouldn't necessarily be a deal breaker if Jalen Johnson stays healthy, which is obviously a major question mark. The Hawks, they have Jalen Johnson, who's quickly become one of the best rebounding power forwards in basketball. I mean, that pairing could work with Jackson at the 5 and Johnson at the 4. I mean, it could be a serious defensive upgrade and scoring upgrade, all while, maintaining and maybe a little bit of a drop in rebounding. But if Jalen Johnson stays healthy for the entirety of next season, they won't really have a drop in rebounding. And then that's obviously something that could be worked on with the training staff. So what would it take to get him if Memphis potentially puts him on the trade block? That part is obviously unclear because as we saw that Desmond Bane just went for 5 first-round picks. Jaren Jackson would obviously, the immediate thing would be he would obviously, demand more in a return. However, if the Hawks were to part ways with a guy like Onyeka Okongwu, that can make up for a few of the picks as they're getting another young center. I mean, if Memphis is rebuilding, they should be open to discussions at least. I mean, if they're simply retooling, maybe they plan to package their newly acquired draft picks, which one of them includes a Phoenix pick, for a star like Kevin Durant or someone in that tier, and try to reshape the roster around their new big 3. I mean, if Atlanta wants to get into the conversation, like I said, a package starting with Onyeka Okongwu, Terrence Mann, and pick 13, just to match salary and give them some draft capital, could get conversations started at least. It might get them to pick up the phone. It's probably not going to get it done. Atlanta may have to include a future first and maybe a guy like Mo Gay or Kobe Buffkin. And then the Hawks maybe could take back some additional salary and a guy like John Conchar. It's just something to think about. I mean, obviously, if Atlanta can get him at a good price, it's something that I think that they should absolutely explore. It's just, it depends on the value and it depends on if Memphis really wants to part ways with him, which right now at the moment is looking unlikely, but things could obviously, pivot towards a rebuild as they just acquire 4 valuable first round picks. But the front, and like I said, the front office in Atlanta is obviously not going to try and gut the team's depth for a star caliber player. I mean, this isn't a no-brainer, but it absolutely is a conversation worth having. And I'm excited to see how things unfold as Memphis enters an offseason where their team is already looking very different and the finals haven't even concluded. So now let's talk a little bit about the NBA draft, because there is some smoke building around a potential move-up scenario. And I mean, we've talked about the Hawks potentially moving up, but there hasn't been a specific team that has been listed. Now there has. So there is some smoke around the Hawks trading up with the New Orleans Pelicans for pick 7. I mean, the Hawks currently own picks 13 and 22, but there are rumors that they're looking to maybe package those picks or not even include 22, but 13 and maybe a future first to move up in this draft that's really stacked. I mean, it's a very good draft, possibly to number 7 that is obviously currently held by the New Orleans Pelicans. These two front offices, it is to be noted that they have a well-established trade history. I mean, don't forget last offseason, Atlanta traded DeJounte Murray to New Orleans for Dyson Daniels, Larry Nance Jr., and 2 first-round picks. Even more interesting is that Atlanta just hired Bryson Graham, who was the current GM for the New Orleans Pelicans, and now he's obviously the senior vice president of basketball operations. Graham's known for his eye for talent and his draft scouting expertise. So if there's a player that he is high on that is projected to go around the pick 7 range, maybe it's Kaman Maluach, maybe it's Noah Essengay, maybe it's Con Kneppel. I mean, don't be surprised if the Hawks push hard to make a deal with his former employer. It's definitely something interesting, and it would be funny if we were able to fleece the Pelicans again, even now that we have their GM. And I mean, with 2 first rounders this year, it's unlikely Atlanta does want to bring in 2 rookies. I've been pushing this for a while. I don't necessarily think it's something they're super interested in. So that gives even more reason to consolidate and target the top of the draft board and try to move up for a guy that, especially if a guy like Kneppel falls. So now we're going to pivot and shift gears and look at the trade market. Not just for the picks, but for players. 2 teams, the Toronto Raptors and the Cleveland Cavaliers, are reportedly open for business. According to Jake Fisher, the Raptors are willing to trade R.J. Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, and Jakob Poeltl. They're open to listening to offers for all of those guys, but only if it brings back, a roster upgrade. Now, Quickley doesn't make a ton of sense for Atlanta, obviously given the presence of Trae Young and Dyson Daniels and, heavy guard play. But Poeltl and Barrett are worth considering at least. I mean, Poeltl could give Atlanta that true defensive-minded center presence, a guy who can rotate in with Okongwu the way that Clint Capella once did when, Clint was at least playable. It could provide some stability at the 5. I mean, that kind of 1-2 punch at center has worked well for the Hawks in recent years, and Poeltl could slide into that role nicely as a big who can do it all except for maybe consistently shoot. But he's a good passer. He's a great shot blocker and defender. He's able to rotate quickly. I mean, he's someone, the Hawks, if they can get him at the right price, should consider. And that could really answer a lot of questions at the backup 5. Barrett would be a trickier fit. I mean, he's a ball-dominant wing who's struggled with efficiency in the past, and his contract isn't exactly super team-friendly. But it's maybe something the Hawks could call about, as he would be a reliable scorer at the forward, which is something the Hawks haven't had in recent years. Now, meanwhile, in Cleveland, Sam Amico is reporting that both Dean Wade and Isaac Okoro, 2 bench pieces for them, are on the trade block. They're actively trying to move them, and they probably won't return as Cleveland Cavaliers next season. Now, those are the names that the Hawks should be watching closely. Wade is a decently reliable shooter who could provide some more floor spacing off the bench, play a similar role that Georges Niang played last year, and who knows his future with the franchise. Isaac Okoro, on the other hand, is an elite defender who could finally give Atlanta a bench wing stopper that's been missing, really. Better yet, these players absolutely wouldn't cost too much. The Cavs are reportedly willing to move off of both for some second-round picks. So at the end of the day, it would be something that'd be a low-risk, high-upside opportunity for a team looking to boost its bench. And that's something that these 2 guys from Cleveland would do. They wouldn't have to play a lot of minutes, but they could fit a role nicely. And obviously, Atlanta has trade history with Cleveland. Obviously, last year at the deadline, they traded DeAndre Hunter for Georges Niang, Karis LeVert, and some second-round picks. It's something to think about. So finally, we're going to talk about a specific prospect, Jean Beringer, a potential Hawks target at pick 22. Now, Beringer has been generating a lot of buzz recently, especially in the past few days. for good reason. He got measured, and he is 6'11" barefoot. That is just a major development as someone who just started playing basketball a few years ago. I mean, he weighs 230 pounds. He has a massive 7'5" wingspan and a 9'3" standing reach. Just something that is obviously going to translate in today's NBA as teams are getting taller and much bigger. I mean, he's only been playing basketball since 2021. I mean, that's ridiculous. His physical tools really jump off the page. I mean, Berenger is an elite shot blocker with great timing, and he moves extremely well for his size. He's mobile, he's switchable, and he's constantly making effort plays, something that Atlanta could obviously use at the center position. Offensively, he's still very raw. Very raw. His post game is underdeveloped. He lacks touch with his left hand, and he's not someone you're going to really give the ball to and expect a bucket. But the tools are there. He's just very raw and not polished at all. But what he can do really is set hard screens. He can roll to the basket, finish lobs with authority, get out in transition. I mean, he's one of the fastest bigs in the draft in transition, which could work well in Atlanta's up-tempo style when Trey is obviously running the fast break. If the Hawks stay at 22, Berenger could be a long-term project and worth investing in. I mean, you could draft a guy at 13. That could immediately be a plug and play, and then you could draft a guy at 22 and not have him in the rotation for a couple seasons, and then work him into the NBA slowly but surely, as he just started playing basketball a few years ago. It's something to really think about, and it's someone that I'm really starting to like as an idea at 22. It's something that the Hawks could certainly use, going forward in a modern NBA. And obviously, during the time that he wouldn't be playing, we can develop his offensive game. He can spend some time in College Park. It would be good for him and for us. So it's something that I think the Hawks should absolutely consider at pick 22, maybe even in a trade back scenario, as teams might not want to take the risk on a guy who really is a boom or complete bust. So it's something to think about, and it's something that has obviously come to light in recent days. His draft stock has been increasing, but it might drop again. We don't really know. I mean, the draft is now 9 days away, so it's obviously something that's going to be changing a lot. But really, that's going to do it for today's episode of Hawks Latest. So to recap, keep an eye on Jaren Jackson Jr.'s situation and obviously the Grizzlies' situation as a whole. I mean, watch for a potential draft night deal with the New Orleans Pelicans, or maybe even before draft night, the Hawks moving up. And don't sleep on some of the value trades floating around with Toronto and Cleveland. And if Atlanta stays at pick 22, Jean Berenger is a name to remember and someone who could very much benefit the franchise moving forward. So as always, thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts below. Turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a single update here on Hawks Latest. We're going to be pumping out videos every single day like we always have been doing. Once again, I am Zach Langley. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.